This small and unassuming lens from Viltrox could very well end up being one of the most popular releases of 2024. And the funny thing about it is that none of the features that it offers are particularly groundbreaking, in isolation at least, but it's the combination of all of these features that I think will make this lens such a popular choice. But like most things in photography, there's usually a compromise, and this one could be fairly significant, so we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. In the meantime though, what is this lens and what makes it so appealing to me? Well, this is the new Viltrox 28mm f4.5 Pancake lens, and as the name suggests, this thing is incredibly small. Now, I've shot with my fair share of Pancake lenses over the years, but this one has to be the smallest by far. Its total thickness measures just a fraction over 1.5 centimeters. Back home in the UK, we have a very scientific term to describe something that's built like this, and that's flat as a witch's tit. Don't ask me why, we're a weird country. Anyway, essentially, this is more of a lens cap than a lens, but this incredibly small size means that it's incredibly lightweight too, weighing just 60 grams. Now, Viltrox have given this lens the adorable nickname of Chip. Aww. And I guess that's because it's flat, like a poker chip, right? Now, personally, I think a better name for it would have been Flat AF, mainly because it's flat as fuck. Functionality aside, you may be thinking at this stage, big deal, Tom, there are plenty of ultra-thin Pancake lenses already available, so why would I care? And you'd be somewhat right in saying that. However, unlike other Pancake lenses of this size, which are almost always manual focus only, this one is actually fully autofocus. And to my knowledge, this could actually be one of, if not the thinnest and lightest autofocus lens ever made. Now, obviously, being ultra lightweight provides a bunch of benefits, particularly for travel and street photography, as it means that there is just way less mass to carry around. But this lens also offers a 28mm focal length, which is quickly becoming the preferred choice of a lot of candid styles of photography, mainly because it provides a wide field of view that can pack in a lot into the frame, whether that's candid scenes of everyday life, modern or ancient architecture, or sprawling vistas. Now, at this point, you might be thinking that the caveat that I mentioned at the start of the video is that this lens was designed for crop sensor cameras, which is exactly what I thought too, but you'd also be wrong. This is actually a full frame piece of glass. So when paired to an equally small full frame mirrorless camera like this Sony a7C Mark II, it provides a pretty powerful and portable combo. Though of course you could use it on a crop sensor camera too, and once you factor in the 1.5 times crop, you'd end up with a field of view closer to that of a 42mm lens in full frame terms, which is still a very versatile focal length to deal with. Now, in terms of build quality, this is pretty nicely made too. Despite its lightweight, it does feel very nice and solid in the hand, and although there's obviously no room for any of the common selection of manual dials and switches, Viltrox did manage to cram in this clever little lever at the bottom here, which when rotated opens and closes a small shutter to protect the front element when not in use. That's right, gone are the days of searching all your back pockets for your misplaced lens cap. Come on, admit it, we've all done it. But when I said there's no dials or switches on this thing, I really did mean it, and that means there's no manual focus dial either. That means focusing is entirely reliant on the camera's AF system. Now, fortunately for me at least, the autofocus during testing proved itself to be very quick and quiet, and I honestly can't recall a single time where this lens misfocused or hunted wildly out of control, whether that was taking photos or shooting in video mode. Object tracking also worked absolutely fine in video mode, though I suspect the lack of manual focus and a pretty heavy amount of focus breathing will make this less desirable for serious videographers, but it's good to know that it will work in a pinch. So, I mean, all of that is well and good, but if the image quality isn't up to standard, then this thing is nothing more than an expensive beer coaster, right? Well, to test this out, I decided to take it for a walk around the sleepy mountain town of Canmore, which is not too far away from my new hometown of Calgary. And if you happen to watch a video that I released a few weeks ago now, you'll know the big news in my life recently is that I've moved to Canada, which has been a pretty big life change for me, to say the least. And also in that video, I touched on some of the personal struggles that I've had to endure over the last few years and how it has unfortunately negatively affected my mental health. So when I was approached by BetterHelp, who not only asked if they could help to support the channel by offering a paid partnership, but also wanted to see whether I would benefit from a trial of their service, I almost bit their hand off at the offer. Now, if you don't already know, BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist way more convenient and affordable, as it's all done online, and all you need to do to get started is fill out a few simple questions. After that, BetterHelp can help to match you to a professional therapist. Now, I've already had a few sessions, and the therapist that BetterHelp matched me with first time has just been amazing, and just having somebody to chat to who can look at things from a completely unbiased and outside perspective, and knowing you won't be judged or criticized about anything you talk about, is something I have personally found became hugely beneficial. But don't worry if you don't really fit with the therapist you get matched up with straight away, because apparently that is a very common thing with therapy. And so with BetterHelp, you can easily switch to a new one for no additional cost. Now, if you think talking to somebody would benefit you, then there is a link in the video description below that will give you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so that you can connect with a therapist, and hopefully it can help you as much as it's helped me. And thank you once again to BetterHelp for offering to support me and this channel. Anyway, when I got home from my walk around Canmore, I started editing the photos and I was genuinely very impressed. For a lens this wide, there's very little distortion to speak of, and the sharpness at both the center and the corners is pretty good. Now, this is a very boring photo, but you can see examples of this in this quick test shot that I took. Around some areas of high contrast, I did notice a touch of purple fringing, but nothing that can't be corrected in Lightroom afterwards should that type of thing really bother you. Now, it's fair to say that with a maximum aperture of only f4.5, you aren't going to be able to achieve images with a super shallow depth of field using this lens. But if you focus close enough, you can still eke out a bit of blurry bokeh. Speaking of which, the minimum focus distance is also pretty good, allowing you to focus up to 32 centimeters away from your subject. But to be fair, achieving beautiful bokeh is not what this lens is designed for anyway. As I've already said, it's clearly suited to the candid snappers. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I took a full frame camera out and it felt just this lightweight.
Feels like nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Now, obviously, no lens is completely perfect, so there are going to be some negatives to talk about, but honestly, the only thing I have to mention at this point is to do with vignetting and flaring. As you can see with this other very boring example photo that I took, dark corners are going to be a thing, and you'll either need to contend with them or correct them in post-production afterwards. And when it comes to flaring, it can get a little bit wild when shooting against a strong side light. But I'll be honest, I really don't mind the look that it gives. In fact, in some instances, I found that it gives the photos a kind of black mist filter effect almost, which I am totally here for. But I fully appreciate that this look won't be for everyone. Now, you might be wondering, does the image quality improve when stopping down the aperture on this lens? Well, that's kind of where we get onto the compromise that I mentioned right at the start. You see, this lens is fixed at f4.5, as in the aperture can't be changed at all. Now, admittedly, this isn't an uncommon trait for Pancake lenses of this size. Just take a look at the 7 Artisan's 18mm f6.3 lens, for example. That also has a fixed aperture and is roughly about the same size as this thing. But the big difference, of course, being that that one is a manual focus only lens and the aperture is f6.3 rather than 4.5 on this one. And although that may not sound like a huge difference, that is an entire stop of light we're talking about, which will make this option way more practical when shooting in lower light conditions. Okay, but what about the price? Well, what if I told you that this is going to retail for just $99? Yep, this is a fully autofocus, super lightweight lens that offers decent image quality for less than $100. You see now why I think this might end up being a big deal. Now, currently, this is still in the pre-order phase, so if you are interested in getting one of these for yourself, then I've put a link down in the description below to the Indiegogo page. Also, believe it or not, Viltrox is currently offering various discounts of varying levels on this lens too, so you could even pick one of these up for even cheaper if you act fast enough. At the moment, this lens is only going to be available for Sony E-mount, but knowing Viltrox, I'm almost certain this will be made available in other lens mounts in the not too distant future. So although I'm completely sold by this lens, it's fair to say that this won't be for absolutely everyone, but for photographers who need to prioritize portability and price, I'm fairly sure this lens is going to be an absolute game changer.